There was once a day when I lived out in the open, in a converted farmhouse with curtains and plants in the window, and everything inside painted white. But such a place would be impossible for me now. It would be impossible to face again the white fields with the snow blending as one into the white clouds above, and the wooden fences with the horses in their winter coats, steam rising out of their nostrils, too calm to belong to this frantic earth. Such a place would be impossible for me now, for now I live in New York City. Last night, my girlfriend and I broke up. Well, I guess she'd say it's kind of a glorification to call her my girlfriend. We'd only been out on one date, but I've already come to think of her as my girlfriend. I'd already pictured her arms wrapped around me, my head muffled in her flesh, all other sounds dropping away, all except the beating of her heart and the blood pumping through her veins. And in the sound of her life, I would drift off to sleep. She came into the copy shop where I worked. When I saw her, when I took her order, it was music she was copying. When I took her order, something came over me, and I thought, this is my chance. She might help me escape. If I could just find another life, then my days of running would be over, and I wouldn't even need the city anymore. The city which always betrays me and leaves me exposed, always alone with what I fear the most, the sound of my memories.
Bodies moving, many as one. A giant machine breathing. Smell, and you will remember the hands of a clock, following the path of a star, moving forward and back, across and over. Time bending, fluid, like any other object moving freely in space. After length, width, and depth, the fourth dimension is time.
We walked all around the city on our date, and as we walked, I wanted to tell her things. I wanted to tell her that I had not been born and raised to work in a copy shop, that I once had an important job. Not that it's so easy to believe at this point, but I have pictures, and they tell me that I was once a lawyer. I hope that I defended the innocent against the guilty, but chances are, if we're to be honest, that probably wasn't the case. Maybe that's why I'm being punished now. I wanted to tell her this, but when I opened my mouth, the only words that came out were those of a man who had been born and raised to work in a copy shop. And I realized I'd been wearing this disguise for so long, it had seeped through my skin. I see your watch is telling the correct time. That building over there once killed a woman under construction. Have you ever drunk a lot of beer? And over there is one of New York's premier sex clubs.
Are you some kind of a psychopath?
Are you some kind of a psychopath? That is the question she asked me as we walked by Macy's. I admired her forthrightness. I wasn't sure, however, what she meant by some kind of psychopath. Is there more than one kind? I wanted to use this as an opportunity to tell her the truth. No, I'm not a psychopath. But yes, I am disturbed. No, I'm not cruel or dangerous, but yes, I am on the run. But of course, I said none of these things. Of course, I said, me? A psychopath? What are you talking about? Which is, of course, exactly how a psychopath would answer. I used to live in a converted farmhouse, far from the city, but not so far that I didn't have a great deal of life in the city. I believe I had a family, and I think that family loved me. And what's even more unusual, I have the impression that I love them back. When we reached the street where I lived, I figured I'd better cut my losses and say goodnight. But then, to top it all off, to put the icing on the worst first date in history, my building started to disappear.
Many. Moving is one. Collective intelligence. Pebbles dropped into the lake, creating ripples, each of which recapitulates the image of the entire lake. There is a small silver ball the size of a BB inserted into my right nostril, shoved upwards into the cavity on the far side of my eye. I wince. It hurts. It's pushing against the fleshy membrane, breaking through.
When the earth reappeared around me, I was far from my building, but, oh God, she was still standing beside me. My first thought was just make conversation, walk her home, pretend like nothing happened, but I couldn't do that. Her mouth opened, lips began to form around words. I felt horror, terrible horror at whatever was going to come out of her mouth. Whatever had happened couldn't be worse than what she was going to say about it. So at last, I attempted a sensible act. I ran. I ran because something was happening in my head. Something inside, struggling to break out. I didn't want to scream. Not in public, not in the subway. If I screamed, people would stare. So I held my head high and I managed to smile. I smiled as faces began to appear in the gratings above the subway, in the nooks and crannies of the city. I struggled to smile and they were looking down, smiling at me. I ran into my apartment, slammed the door, tore off all my clothes, and looked in the mirror. My body was glowing, my skin red like a briquette. I stared into my face, and a stranger stared back. I remember my doctor telling me I have the organs of an 80-year-old man. And then, finally, I screamed. And then, I barely remember. I barely remember that one still fight to forget. I was afraid when I woke up this morning. Afraid to discover that last night had been more than a bad dream. I wondered if I should call her. I don't even have her number. Maybe she'll come into the coffee shop again. But no. Would any woman I could ever love visit a man like me again? The coffee shop. I had to get to work, where 150 people would surround me at 8 a.m., all waving sheets of paper, calling me jerk and schmuck and asshole. The alarm is ringing. It was 7:45. I bring my hand down on the clock, and time leaves me. I step temporarily outside its domain. When my hand comes off the clock, it's 7:30. 7 and the sun is already starting to set. The day is lost. Did I go to work? I'm still in my pajamas. I have to call my boss. I pick up the phone. And time leaves me. I step temporarily outside its domain. The phone is dead. The curtain has descended on the day, bringing night, darkness. Again, I'm in the dark again. The clock reads 10:40. My head is pounding itself raw. I have to take a pill. Any pill. I run to the bathroom, pull open the medicine cabinet. And time leaves me. I step temporarily outside its domain. The metronome clicks, hums, sings an aria, and time, obedient, follows its lead. Where is the clock? Clock! What does a clock do but spit out random numbers? Time is a lottery, 10:10. 1:30. What day? 12? Noon or midnight? Check the sky. The sky is black. No. Red. No. Gray. What time is gray? Have years gone by? Are the people I once knew long gone, leaving me alone in this room? All right then, I surrender. I can no longer hold the universe at bay. There is a universe in my mind, struggling to break out. Memories slip between the cracks. The trickles become a torrent, carrying me away. At this moment, I've lost my job, I've lost all sense of the world beyond me, and what's worse, I've lost even the will to hope that her life, the beating of her heart, could drown out all these sounds. No place could be as alien as this world has become. I've run everywhere to escape my memories, everywhere but into my mind itself. I enter my mind, and there I find webs upon webs. What a mess. It's been neglected for so long. Patterns stretched, altered over a lifetime of denial. I have to start again, piecing bit by bit the fragments that float to the surface.
A pendulum off center, swinging too far to one side. Galileo picking up the earth, pushing it slightly off center, and doing so, setting into motion a series farther and farther toward the edge of the universe.
I hear a voice. No, not sound waves. Something in my head speaking in the voice of my own conscience. It is better to forget. It is pointless to remember. No one will believe you. You will have spoken a heresy. You will be outcast. I work against the voice, though it grows louder.
It is better to forget. It is pointless to remember. No one will believe you. You have spoken a heresy. You will be outcast.
On that night, in that farmhouse, when the hole appeared in the sky, a hole appeared and the sound came down, and the sound made light, and the light made my skin glow, and there were no more need for horses or snow. There was only the sound. Sound and light. Light to see and sound. Sound to touch.
Distance. All space compresses to the head of the pin. A pin at once infinitely small and infinitely large. Large in size. Whether domestic and level with whether one stands and level with it, or looks down from above. Hives. Thousands of creatures working as one. It is impossible to determine beings are meant to beings. Forming to one being, split into being, split into.
On the farm, I remember there was a hive of bees, which the man would come around several times a year to tend. He was dressed in a canvas suit, window for his eyes like a spaceman. Then, like a spaceman, he would reach out and touch the hive, bloated with the fury all around his head. After the night the sky opened, I remember spending hours watching the hive. The buzzing growing louder and louder until it filled my brain, circling round my head. Growing louder and louder because one day, after weeks of watching and listening, one day I walked toward it. Not in the spaceman's uniform, but only my body. Exposed and vulnerable as it is every day in the world. I walked toward the hive, and then, like an orb, I held it. And the pain that followed seemed to relieve me of all my questions, until I woke up in a hospital bed, covered in welts and blood. And so, looking no longer human, I rose up like an alien. I rose up out of my bed and I started to run. I must return to the hive in order to understand. But can I do it this time? Can I penetrate the swarms? I must not lose consciousness this time, or else wake up again in a hospital bed. Running.
It is better to forget. It is pointless to invest.
Heresy. You will be outcast in a hive. These words were spoken in a hive with thousands of creatures one night on above my farmhouse. One night, the sky burst open and the rains came down like slivers of sound, surrounding me, falling onto my face, fusing into one whole thing, until I stood at the center of a solid pillar of sound. Sound! It was as if on the roof there had been 1,000 airplanes! 1,000 airplanes on the roof! There are visitors who travel across the universe. Why? I don't know. How? I think I know. They have come to understand the role of matter over the 5 dimensions. There are always 2 ways to travel: the easy way and the hard way. The hard way is across space. The easy way is within space. The lone Zen monk, sitting on a frozen hillside, outside a pavilion. He has also mastered the easy way. He turns his eyes inward, and there he finds an imprint of the universe. And then, wherever he wants to be, he has already arrived. How can I say it? Even to myself, without thinking I'm crazy. And yet, if it is the truth, and I continue to deny it in order to appear sane, isn't that true of insanity? The truth is the sound. The sound came for me in the night, over a field near a converted farmhouse. The truth, what I know I have to say, if only once, if only to myself. I have been visited by beings from other worlds. They have come to Earth, and on several occasions, they've taken me away. And then, an old feeling burrows up from beneath the pavement of my memory. Awaken. The sound. It's so real. The sound. It's here. It's come for me again. The air around me explodes into black dots, and the harmless sound waves, they are once again solid. Once again my visitor, and I once more their prisoner. No more apartment, no more city, no more people. Gone, all gone. There is only the sound I hear the sound, I taste the sound, and so absorbed in the sound, I'm carried along with it. We go to where the waves travel together, up. And now my eyes see what I had remembered. The architecture of the visitors is designed to precise specifications over 5 dimensions. Walls that are straight in the 3rd dimension appear curved in the 4th. The room grows bigger as they enter now. The workers all headed toward me. I know where I'm supposed to go. They are surrounding me, touching me. I have become another part of the hive. My will submerged, I am carried along. I'm naked. The light glints off the probe, the silver globe. Up, oh God, up into my right nostril, the one that bleeds. My head starts to ache. I feel the flesh behind my eye stretched. My eye, it'll pop out of its socket. It's breaking. Something is breaking through. And then, on my naked stomach, there is a warm glow. Something touching me. I open my eyes. It's him. How do I know it's him? I don't. But it's him. He puts his hand on my stomach while he manipulates the globe with something like his fingers. There is only numbness until I hear the squishy wetness as it penetrates my brain. In the voice of my conscience, I ask, what are you doing to me? In the voice of my conscience, he replies, smell, smell, and you will remember. A sweaty odor. It isn't clean. A spaceship is at least supposed to be clean. This one smells of dead leaves rotting in the tropics. I breathe in, and the smell begins to permeate the very fibers of my brain. Like a living thing burning. What am I turning into? I look into his eyes and see my face reflected. Its terror strikes me as silly, so I start to laugh. Then I breathe in, causing the burning once again. But this time I ignore it, because I'm seeing. Behind my skin, into my temporal lobe, the seat of all consciousness. And there, at the tip of his fingers, is the silver globe, lodged deep within my brain. In the voice of my conscience, he says, by this we know you, and you know us. But why? Why do you travel the distance? And why are you interested in me? I breathe again, and looking into his eyes, I see the globe grow larger until it covers the length of my body. I stand as it opens for me. I get inside, curl myself into a ball. It shoots off across space, across all 5 dimensions. I travel past rows of faces, each varying slightly from my own. My father's face, my grandfather's face, back generations to before the time of humans. Then forward, faces yet to be born. My son, his child, their daughter, on and on. The globe is gone, and I realize all this time I've been looking into his face, seeing in his eyes a mirror reflecting myself. And he has been looking into my eyes, and he too has seen himself. Now, I understand why they travel. Why any one of us feels the need to walk across a room toward another being whose heart beats and whose flesh smells of life. We are all visitors. We all ask questions. We all hope one day, looking into the eyes of another, to find at least part of an answer. We all perceive. My nose. I know there'll be bleeding when I return home in the morning. There always is. But this time, I'll understand and remember. There is a gray cloud hanging over New York, and flakes, tiny particles, illuminated by the rising sun, glowing as they fall. It looks like the Earth has descended into a nuclear winter. A radio voice blares from someone's window, 7:15. The pavement is intact, steps beneath me, solid. The radio voice says fires have broken out all over West Virginia, North Carolina, and Kentucky, and the wind has blown the ashes thousands of miles here to New York. 7:15. I head off to work. From out of the gray cloud, New York reappears. I remember all the details, and the fact that the city is fluid, and that the faces appear and disappear in its walls and gratings. It's not scary anymore. I know they're watching me, but I'm watching them too. In our familiarity, we become distant equals. I'm thinking about maybe buying another farmhouse. Of course, I have to make some money first. I walk into the copy shop, and my boss asks me where I've been. For 4 days? How long? Running my hand over my face. What is this? I have a beard. My clothes are unwashed. I'm still in my pajamas. My hands are covered in filth. I stink. Where have I been for 4 days? 4 days, you mean I haven't eaten or drunk a thing in 4? My mouth closes. My throat gags. The room explodes. Black dots converging. When I wake up, I'm in a spaceship. No, what is this? Strapped to a table? Wait, the smells are different. No rotting leaves. This time I smell, Listerine. I'm on Earth. In a hospital. The doctor looks down from above. In a voice far removed from my conscience, he asks, "Where have you been?" Where have I been? I've been on the spaceship. I've been in contact with the visitors. Several times they've abducted me, only this time I remember the patterns of their architecture, the methods of their travel. I looked into the eyes of one and saw myself, and he looked into my eyes, and you see, it all started with this girl. No, I can't say that.
It is better to forget. It is better to forget. It is pointless to remember. It is pointless to remember. You will have spoken a heresy. You will be outcast.
Where have you been? Asks the doctor.
Where have you been?
For 4 days, I've been sick. I bumped my head. Upon saying the words, I begin at once to forget. Like a tape run backwards, visions of my memories are swallowed up, erased. What I remember couldn't possibly have happened then. It must have been a dream. I've had dreams before. That was no dream. But it couldn't have happened then. There's only one explanation. If it couldn't have happened, it didn't. And my memories, they're at odds with what happened. Are you crazy? I'm not crazy. Then you can't have such memories. I don't. Whatever they were, I forget them. The doctor finds my explanation incomplete. He says,
Lying here, you talked in your sleep. A fantastic story.
"It must have been a dream," I reply.
Yes, probably. But I feel compelled to ask, do you ever see faces above the subways?
No, I do not.
Have you ever been visited by beings from other worlds?
I have not.
You've never been afraid to return to a farmhouse?
No,
You've never touched a beehive?
no,
Has your apartment building ever disappeared before your eyes?
it has not.
Has a sound appeared to you in the flesh?
It has not.
Has it ever imprisoned you?
It has not.
Do you understand the mechanics of the fourth and fifth dimensions?
I do not.
Do you even have any idea what they are?
I do not.
Have you ever studied Zen or any of the Eastern disciplines?
I have not.
Is there imprinted in your person a plan of the cosmos?
There is not.
Does the presence of a silver globe mean anything to you?
It does not.
Do hives, such as those of bees and other insects, play a part in your memories?
They do not.
Did anyone ever ask you to remember?
No one has asked that.
Have you ever looked into the eyes of another and there found answers?
No,
Have you ever seen yourself in the face of another?
no,
You've never crawled into any small globe.
no,
You've never followed a line of faces.
no,
You've never shot out across space.
no.
You've never been told to forget.
No one says that.
You have nothing to forget.
No,
You're forgetting nothing.
That is correct. The doctor tells me I may return to the world. I will no longer tell stories which cannot be verified. I will shave my face and dress in conservative colors. When I look out the door into the sky, I will see only the glow of neon. I run home, away from the faces above the subway. I run home through the streets as the ground opens beneath my feet. It's a normal reaction to be terrified. I had a bad day. I was confused because I used to live on a farm, but no longer. For now, I live in New York City, where the people are always present. And my mind is calm. With only just a little pulse, a little throbbing someplace behind my nostrils, in front of my brain, just a minor thing. The throbbing grows, threatens to become a sound. There is a universe in my mind struggling to break out, and I am a normal man running.
Thank you for coming. My name is Kati Becsi and I'm the director of this production. And you've seen my homework. Class of 2013, a theater major and a history major and a theater minor.
Yeah.
I wish he would be a theater major, but I couldn't talk him into it. Anthony Shostak, he was the curator for the museum's Starstruck exhibition. The show, producing this show was his idea. Professor Stephanie Kelly Romano from the Department of Rhetoric, and she is our expert on alien abduction. The composer, Professor Bill Matthews, should be here too, but as you know, tomorrow we are inaugurating our president, and President Clayton Spencer, and he also composed the ode to the president. And right now they have a dress rehearsal, so he might be running in a little late. But please, we would like to spend a few minutes here to answer some of your questions that you might have about the show or the process or anything.
Smash.
How did you prepare for all the different parts of your personality? Like, how did you get into the personality?
Kathy won the Croach last year. She's the best teacher at the school, so she was pretty helpful. And then Shauna up there in the booth. Shauna up there is the stage manager. She's been at every single rehearsal. She pretty much ran the show. We've also got Ben and Lucas up there. They ran lights and sound. They're amazing. And Gwen up here is my spotlight. Gwen, are you up there? Hey Gwen, she's up there too. So amazing team back there. How did for the characters? I don't know. You're up here with the lights blaring on you for long enough. You started going nuts. Yeah.
Todd, you had a question there.
I do have a question. I'm wondering how you coordinated the cues between the sound and the visuals.
You got that, Shauna?
And the light.
How do we coordinate the visuals, the
There
sound,
are-
and the light?
There are 3 people up in the booth, and if you open your program notes, you can see that there's Lucas Wilson-Spiro. He's on the Q Lab, which is an amazing computer program for sound, and he pushes all the sound buttons and he does all the sound cues. Shana is not only the stage manager, but she also manages the Isadora computer program that allowed us to all the still images. And if you haven't seen the exhibition, I urge you to go, because it's an amazing exhibition, and I used only the images from the exhibition and from the book. The farmhouse image is not in the exhibition, that is in the book, and we received through Anthony a special permission to use that one photograph. Otherwise, every single image is from the exhibition. So Shana manages that, and I have Benjamin Cuba, who's a freshman, and he does all the lights. And it's basically coordinating 3 people, pushing the 3 buttons at the same time. And you know, as you know, every single minute on stage is basically rehearsed for 6 hours. So that's your answer. It's lots of rehearsals and, you know, lots of just practicing the cues. Lots of time goes into production like this. But I really had an amazing production team.
Yeah, that's pretty cool.
Yes.
In terms of the creation of the entire product, so the music that was composed for this and then the creation of the images, what order did that happen? So was the music composed after Tommy began to work on his character, or was that all sort of simultaneous?
The music was composed kind of at the same time as everything. Oh, music was composed kind of at the same time as everything. So Kat and I and Shana kind of built the show, and then the music came, and we just kind of rebuilt the show. There were some parts that weren't creepy that were like, oh, it's creepy now, cool. Like, creepy face me didn't come until the creepy music came. So yeah, the music was like a lot of the influence of what we did. Pretty awesome music. Thank you, Mr. Matthews, if you're here. Hey, Charlie.
Hey, how did you pick this show? And do you have any connection with aliens?
I do not. As one of the voiceovers said, the idea came from Anthony Shostak. This production was produced in 1988, and the composer was Philip Glass. You might have heard of him. You know, he did this famous show, Einstein on the Beach, that is actually going through a pretty big revival right now. And so he gave me the text because Anthony actually saw the original production, so you should ask him, but he will tell you that this one much better. But he's seen the original production and the idea came from him, so, and we received a special permission to use just the script. David Henry Wang, who's a very famous, by now very famous contemporary American playwright, wrote the script, and we received a special permission just to use the script because I did not want to use the Philip Glass music, and for many reasons, because it would not fit the images that we had in the museum, and the baseline was basically the images that we used. Anthony, why don't you say a few things about the production?
Sure. Well, one of the ideas behind the Starstruck exhibition was to really try to fully explore themes that the exhibition invites through the curriculum here at Bates. And I thought theater is a pretty powerful method of communication, like being one of the arts. And so I knew strongly that I wanted to try to rope Kati into doing something. And so I did a little bit of research, and believe it or not, there's not a lot, or I wasn't able to find a lot of plays about space that I thought were compelling. But I remembered seeing this production when I was a student in art school in Philadelphia, and it was a really it was a production that has stayed with me over the years. So I thought, well, we'll never be able to get the rights to this, you know, but we were actually. So I'm intrigued by the potential for a production like this to augment something that started over in the museum and sort of gets completed in everybody's head like a little silver ball.
Cool.
Right.
Question for Stephanie. Obviously, the character has a few different issues going on. I'm wondering if his experiences, if those are reflected in real testimony about alien abduction.
Yes, definitely. The play resonates with a lot of the common themes from alien abduction. And I think the fact that it came out in '88 when Whitley Strieber and Bud Hopkins, two of kind of the biggest proponents of the alien abduction discourse were on the New York Times bestsellers list and all this kind of stuff. So there are several common themes in terms of the implants, the missing time, the needing to remember, the removal from society and all that kind of stuff that definitely came through loud and clear.
During the, lots of preparation and lots of research goes into every single production, and we did obviously research about alien abductions, and we picked Stephanie's brain, and she recommended that we watch 2 movies. So we, the 3 of us, Tommy, Shauna, and myself, we went to the library and we watched 2 really creepy alien abduction movies. One of them was The Communion, and the other one is Fire in the Sky. And lots of the stuff really in the movies resonated with the piece that we just did.
Thanks, Matt.
Please.
Also in preparation for your character, do you identify with your character at all, or was it like?
Yeah, I got abducted by aliens once, so I was happy to do this.
Seriously, like, is there any way that you identify with it, or was it like totally foreign from?
I hope not. I'll say no. I'll say no. Thanks, Ash. Oh, let's go, Matt. He's throwing the music. Woo!
So now you can ask him music questions as soon as he picks the theater.
I'll just push up.
So if you have any music questions to the composer or the composer.
Yeah.
I've never seen the original production, and I never listened to the Philip Glass music for it. It seemed to me that the main idea is that it's synthetic, and I used very old-fashioned technology, a Moog synthesizer, in a digital emulation. And I wanted this constant sort of annoying presence that was inescapable, because it seems to me that that's the kind of environment that's in his head. So it's 3 oscillators and a filter and voltage-controlled envelope generator. Just very simple electronic means.
Bill, did you, any turn of your head as you look at the pictures of it, the exhibit, or was it more based on the text?
It was on the text, the script. I love the exhibit, and I have the images digitally too, but I actually made all the music before I saw the images that Cody picked to use.
And the voiceovers. Those are pretty scary too.
The voiceovers, yeah. We recorded those a long time ago, it seems, early in the production process. So that was, yeah, it was interesting.
Yeah, talk to me about the lows, the low tones.
Were there enough of them?
Yeah, they're impressive. They were marvelously impressive. It's funny because my partner here was saying at the beginning, in the opening, in the preset,
Yes.
it was really interesting to hear he said, does this sound like space music to you? And often space music is lighter. It's sort of, music from the hearts of space. It's a little friendlier.
Yeah.
And there was this sort of rumbling,
Yes.
grumbly, oppressive low.
Yeah,
that made it seem, I knew where the show was going to go, and I think some people did not know where the show was going to go. And so there was much more laughter early on.
Oh,
That
yeah.
countervailed, that grumbly low tone had a sort of ominous,
Yeah.
foreboding, and I
Yeah.
think it was intentional.
Well, those frequencies are those below 40 hertz. Say we can hear down to about 25, 24 hertz. And there's a big speaker called a subwoofer in the theater here, which makes those very physical.
Right.
I had the idea that the sound becomes physical
Right.
for
It
comedy.
really is the other character. It is
Right. So I wanted that physicality for
Okay.
the bass. Yeah. Thank you.
Yes.
It's my
What else,
dad.
please?
My dad's taking a picture.
What conversation did you and Bill have about sound? And the reason I ask that is because there was change some of what you were doing? Because I know actors are cued by sound, that it takes you places that you may not have intended to go. So I was interested in what kind of conversation you two had, you know, that made it go, or was it a discovery all the way?
Well, you know, when you're in a collaboration, you have to trust your partners in the collaboration. And we talked about the images, we talked about the script, and before Bill started to compose the entire piece, he showed me a little snippet, and he said, "This is what am I thinking about, how far it is from your idea." And it was pretty much right on. And actually, the whole thing started out very differently in my head, because, you know, you read a script and you kind of try to block the show and try to figure out what you're going to use. And, you know, I tell you right now that my original idea was that there's a photocopier there, you know, this is going to be a chair here, and this is an apartment, and there's going to be a hospital bed. And we dragged all this stuff up on stage, and it looked like shit. And you know, and we started to rehearse, and I said, "Oh my God, this is really horrible," and you know, so it's not gonna work. And then so we made it more, and the music is more abstract, so there's no reality. Let's just move everything, and then we ended up with a cube as a set. So there's a joke after each rehearsal, Tommy strikes the set. So she basically just, you know, moves the cube off stage. But so you know, it's a process. I mean, obviously, it's a process to talk and listen to the music and just have a feel for it. And you know, certain areas and certain images, and then I ended up shifting some of the images. And you know, there are like 150 images in this exhibition, which
I've never
Anthony,
106.
106. So which I received on a memory stick, and I kept looking at these images over the summer and trying to figure out how to match the images with the text. And I hated the idea that they were still. And that's when the Isadora program came in. And so I've been able to, I picked certain images where we could overlap the images, and basically the shifting the frames makes the images look like that they move and pulsate. So, you know, it's a long process, but, you know, and then actually we had Bill composed sound effects, you know, like copy shop sound effects, and then they just didn't work. And I think when you pick really good partners to both work on a production, you think in the same way. And just Bill said that I'm going to cut those realistic sounds. What do you think about that? And I had the exact same idea about it. So it worked out fine. If you want to comment on that?
No, she's absolutely right. She threw out the naturalistic props, and then the naturalistic sounds. I had crickets for the farmhouse. I had a copy machine. I had a hospital sound. So it just didn't seem appropriate. As the play got more hallucinatory, and got more psychological and more internal to Tommy's brain.
Yeah, I have a question. When we came in, there was a preset, which was very atmospheric. And I wonder if you were surprised at the amount of conversation and volume in the audience before, and was that consistent with what you originally expected, what you were trying to achieve with the atmosphere?
We've done this a lot of times with an empty theater, so I've never done it with people. But I could hear my dad talking the entire time. So I know everything you and Eve talked about. I could hear certain people. So yeah, it was. I don't know what we thought would happen, because it seemed creepy enough that you might not talk, but it's 20 minutes. So.
Before you all walked in, I gave that note to Tommy. I said, "Don't be surprised. People are not going to sit in quiet. They're going to talk, and there will be a certain, you know, level of sound." My biggest fear was that he will fall asleep, and then we won't start the show.
I did one time.
You know, it's a torture. It's a real torture to make your actor to be still on stage as the audience walks in for 20 minutes. And this is the second time I've done this to him, so he's getting used to it. I just like the idea, you know, because this is not a theater piece. I love curtains, and we did like, you can take it with you. Which the curtain goes down, and then you come into the theater, and then suddenly the curtain opens, and everybody's like, wow. Because you see the set, and you meet the set, and you meet the piece. But this is not this kind of a theater. I didn't want to have a theater and a show and curtain and then you come in and the lights go off. And so I wanted you to enter into the space, into his mind, or into the hospital, or into his apartment, or whatever you imagine.
Mary.
Tommy, how did your experience change once the tech became part of the rehearsal process? Because it sounds like for a while the two were very separate.
Yeah.
And then obviously, the point they came together, things must have changed. But what was that experience like?
So at first you memorize, I just kind of me sitting around for like a summer, like trying to memorize everything. And then I meet with Kati and Shauna, and then we figure everything out for like a couple weeks. And then when we got into this place, we did all tech, so there was like 2 weeks where there wasn't any acting stuff. It was just me working out the tech. So then in the last week, we started working on the performance again. So it's very weird because the performance changes so much. I've never seen it. I mean, I've never seen any of the images. I've never looked back. So I don't know what any of that stuff is. The music changes everything. It really changed everything when the whole tech came in. The tech is amazing. Yeah. I think if that's enough, I don't know. Kavetta? Talking? No, but wasn't that awesome? The air conditioners just suck.
The 50-year-old Schaefer Theater, and that's the old heating system, but it actually worked with this piece. But that's the heating system we have no control over, and it's certain, every half an hour, the heaters start to click.
Totally worked though.
We will take one more question, and then we all, can go and have fun.
Yes. Ooh.
Just a comment, I think they talked about preset, where you have a naturalistic frequency roll into the system.
Yeah.
It's his idea.
As many lights coming from the audience, and head up there, all the phones.
Thank you guys for that.
Yeah.
Stars right here, not just up there.
Up on the walls. Yeah. Well, thank you all for coming. And
Thank you
please
very
go
much
and
for
see that.
coming.